so fire. And I can't even believe this is happening today. One of the queens of CrossFit, the Mount Rushmore of CrossFit, the one of the ladies that started it all, Rebecca Voigt Miller. Yo, this is so I don't even know how to tell you how cool this is. And you're sitting there with like wraps on your fingers and you just like this is the coolest thing that's ever happened. I'm so excited.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited too. I'm a little nervous, but I'm really excited to just chat with both of you. I enjoy the podcast greatly, and so it'll be fun.
I wanna fangirl out so
It's okay, you can. I warned her before that we would. Mr. Watkins, hello.
Hey Tyler, what's up? I just fangirling out is allowed. Thank you. Cause I really like for me, you normally in sports, there's a generation that you looked up to. You are the first generation that women looked up to in CrossFit. Like there was nothing else. Like it was you guys, you, Annie Sakamoto, like Kristen Clever, Annie Thor's daughter, like you, and probably people I don't even know, but
Tanya Wagner.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, yeah.
And you guys were what we were like, oh crap, this is what women can do. And you didn't have that.
Well, luckily I did have that sort of because Annie Sakamoto, Nicole Carroll, Eva T, those were like the three. That was it. Those three were the people that I was like, okay, well, if they can do that, then I guess like I can do that, you know? So I have a small understanding of that. I know we were all babies at that time, but
that's how young CrossFit is, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
we're still getting into our rhythm.
You are the Mount Rush. It's like going and looking at the original basketball players or the original, like you go for me it was Cheryl Miller in women's basketball.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
Yeah.
So you guys are that for CrossFit, and that to me is I can't even I can't handle it.
I think you are not just for CrossFit, but I think you are for women. Like you really are. I think it wasn't until we found CrossFit that there really was a change in what like women's strength really looked like, and what not just physically, like what your body physically looks like, but what a woman can actually do. Where there was that taboo for so long growing up where you had to be this thin. And if you were not this thin, then you were never going to find a partner and you were never going to be attractive. And you wanted to have a certain color hair. And, it was the blonde phase and then it was the brunette phase. And you had to have certain color eyes. And like, we just went through those stages where it's like, you had to look a certain way. And I think for the first time, at least for us, when we found CrossFit, it was like, God, we can just look how we look and we can lift really heavy things and we can really be empowered as women. So just thank you for that. I mean, I know you had your girls before you, but like for us, like just thank you. You really were that one of the ones that we really were just like, fuck, we can just be strong and it's really cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's really hard for me to hear that stuff because I feel like, I've done nothing. But I know that that's just me kind of just not giving the credit to where I'm supposed to. But that's another thing to unpack. But I appreciate that.
We're in a place right now where it's like we are coming to grips with the fact that women can, we have big shoulders, we have big arms, we can go work out you can go do CrossFit, but you can go bro sesh or whatever you want, Pilates, whatever. And you come out and you do have these big shoulders and these big quads and these big biceps. And I don't know, for it to be okay, like you and I are pretty much the same age. You're a little older than me. I'll be 45 in next March.
All right, rub that in, but sure.
Yeah. Sorry. But we grew up at the same time and whatever, and to do that and to have big muscles and you played basketball, right?
Yeah.
So did I. I went to Northeastern. I played at Northeastern.
Well, I wasn't that good. I did get to play in college, which was, awesome. I do believe that, like, if it wasn't for athletics, because that generally was what I was good at, I wouldn't get the education that I get. So I'm so grateful that I had sports because I had to stay honest with school to be able to play sports with my family and, just with the school itself. So I am beyond grateful that I was good at something, and sports were something that I excelled at, and I felt comfortable and one with myself. Because outside of that, learning always has been very difficult. Um, and I haven't had the best counselors and such that kind of guided me into the education part. So it's been a lot more work. So it's nice to be able to have basketball and then CrossFit.
I really want to know, you said you said multiple times you're a taller athlete and you played basketball. So I'm kind of curious, what's your definition of a taller athlete?
Well, when I say that I'm taller in the CrossFit realm, I'm like 5'9.5", so I'm not like super tall. I mean, if we're talking about basketball, no, I'm short. But in the CrossFit world, I am a taller athlete in
Yeah.
regards. And for a long time, with the exception of a few athletes in the beginning, I was the tallest. And I was competing against, the Chris Clevers of the world, which it only helped me. I mean, she is one of my best friends. And so, trying to do burpees against her is impossible.
Yeah.
But she pushed
Still.
you. But she
Oh,
pushed
yeah.
you, and she was able to be like that partner where it's like, okay, you're really good at this, so I need to work out next to you because you're really good at this, and it's gonna only help me. And then I'm sure for her, there were certain things that you were much better at her than, and it was like you guys
No.
were no, I don't believe that. I don't believe
Oh,
that.
just at the peak of Chris Clever's career, oh my gosh. She was incredible. She is
Mm.
still incredible. But yeah, there was 4 of us. It was Katie Hogan, Lindsay Valenzuela were kind of like the games
Yes.
athletes, but then we had a whole host of female athletes in the gym, and it was like that. We were just pushing each other every single day. And like you said, you're right. There were days where like the strength prevailed, and then other days it was the cardio. And so every day, with the exception of Chris Clever, every day someone was sucking at something. But Chris Clever, man, she was
Smoked you
a
all.
beast.
She smoked you
Yeah.
all, didn't she?
Chris Clever was my hero, and because she wore board shorts,
She was the
I was like,
original.
She was the
yes.
first.
Yes.
She
was like, Reebok, I'm not wearing those shorts.
Yes.
The 1-inch crotch is not going to work for me.
Isn't she the only one though? Like isn't she
No.
No, there's been others that have worn the short. I don't remember. Who else wore the shorts?
The board shorts, I mean, there's been athletes here and there. It's been a sprinkling, but
Yeah.
I think she definitely allowed others to be like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna wear that."
That was awesome.
I gotta
Yeah.
ask.
For
did
me,
you...
it was so cool. Like when I'm sorry,
No,
give me a
good.
second, babe.
Yeah.
Like oh God, I'm sorry. I'm fanning so hard right now. But the 2010 games was when I saw you guys on ESPN. Right. So like I got to see the 2010 games. I got to see the 2011, or maybe it was 2011, but right in there. And I saw her and I was just like, yes, like this is everything that there are other girls that feel like this, and we just can't, like we can't do it. And her being on ESPN, winning the CrossFit games and being like, yo, I'm just going to be in board shorts and a tank top. Like I'm good. And it was awesome. It was it was really, I can't tell you how much that meant when she did that. Like that was really cool. Sorry, babe.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Talk about
I was
inseams.
gonna say, and the fact that she said it and Reebok was like, no problem. Cool. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously we don't know like the actual conversation, but like to get to the point where they made her some, she had them, she wore them, and she was able to just be who she was. And and still kill it and still rock it out and still
She
win.
was fire. She's the reason I had a mohawk for so long.
She
long.
did.
I
She
did.
did. Wasn't it short?
No.
Because Chris is super
Oh, yeah.
short.
Yeah.
Super short.
Did you ever wear those infamous Reebok white shorts? Were you a
No.
white? Can we talk about that for a second? How awful they were.
My
Tell me.
best friend Katie Hogan and Stacy Tovar, who are actually my friends. We've eaten meals together. You know, those were their jams. And honestly, they're both volleyball girls. And so they grew up in those. They lived their best life in that. And unfortunately, no, that was way too few of material. I played basketball. I was in the era of long basketball shorts.
Yes.
You know, wearing men's boxer briefs underneath because it was the most comfortable. Like,
yep.
Let's be real. I still can't wear that 1 inch, and I'm never gonna wear white. Like, sorry.
Those white ones, right? I mean, even in the other colors, I was like, they're still short. Like really short, but those white ones, and Garrett will tell you, every time I saw a girl,
she was mad.
I mean, and I don't know if it was like envy, like damn, these girls can pull off these white shorts, but me, I was like, I would never wear a pair of white shorts that short on public TV. Like, I just would
100% it was envy. I have to think it's envy because
it has to be,
everybody
right?
who wore those rocked them.
Oh my God,
looked so good, but I was not gonna try that.
Yeah, Stacy Tovar too, like huge fan of Stacy, and the fact that she was one of her and Annie used to come out in those white shorts all the time, and I was like, I got to give it to him because I could never wear the shorts like that at all.
Yeah, we would go to like Reebok when we were sponsored with Reebok, and they would be like, okay, let's do a product talk. And anytime we were in the room with Katie and Stacy, they're like, we need them to be shorter. And I was like, no, we don't. We absolutely don't. I can't even wear these to bed anymore. Like a half an inch, sorry.
I mean, they would be like all the way up there if they got any shorter. Like, we just want to show everybody everything, every inch, what it looks like.
I mean, they do say sex sells, right?
They had options for other people that were like, can I have the capris, or can I have the leggings? Can I just have some simple shit to work out in? And they had those other options for you guys. So at least they had that.
Yeah, and then Sam Briggs, like after Kristen Clever, it was Sam Briggs, and she would always just wear the capris. Like she was always capris when she was, and like God bless her for wearing leggings. But she was like, nah, yo, I'm wearing capris. I'm not like.
Yeah, I was in that boat. I was like, capris are working for me. I'm not wearing shorts. No, thank you. Yeah. I mean, luckily Reebok was such a good sponsor. Like, at least from my standpoint, they were so awesome. They were so open, especially in the beginning when they were kind of entering. And they were so welcoming, and they were willing to give things a try so that, you know, everyone did feel comfortable, whether it be black shorts only, no color, or anything like that. Yeah, they were really great to be a part of.
Do you have a favorite color scheme from Reebok? Because they obviously changed every year, every couple years, whatever. Do you have one that was like, that's my year, I just loved that color scheme? Because you had the bright orange, you had the lime green, you had the
Rich Froning black and red.
Yes, the black and red. Like, you had all those colors.
I think that the one that I was like gravitate to because of the bright colors was that it was like a neon cherry, which essentially was the orange.
Yeah.
But that one was great. And though I still wear those shorts, sometimes I'm a little embarrassed when I look down, there's a little number on there, and I was like, oh, these are like 12 years old, but whatever. I'm at the gym. It's fine.
I want to one more fangirl question for real.
She's lying.
I'm not.
She's lying.
I might be
more.
There'll probably be more. The 2015 games with the wheelbarrow, like jump over, like go back and forth across the stadium and jump over the wall. What was that really like? Like, that had to be. Did you just see wheelbarrows falling everywhere, and you're like, what is happening right now? Like,
I mean, luckily I was fortunate that my wheelbarrow didn't. Chris Clever we had a really tough time with that workout. I actually did really well in that workout.
Yeah, I
So
know.
I have a very fond memory of that because it was just grunt work. And so like that's what I'm good at. I'm really good at just, just doing work. And so that one was just really fun, but it was hard to watch afterwards when you're witnessing people like can't getting the sandbags over from the floor over the wall and
Did you
couldn't
have to
figure
step on
out.
the sandbags to get it over?
I mean,
You
luckily I'm a tall athlete for
I was gonna
CrossFit.
say, yeah. You're 5'9".
Yeah. So yeah, I also did step on the sandbag, but for the most part, I didn't have as hard of a time as others. But that's definitely one of my top 10 events because it was so different and it was so fun. And yeah, we still had some equipment issues, but for the most part, it went well and looked good on
It was
camera.
so cool to watch.
It
It was
was
so
cool to watch. I don't know if I'd ever want to
No, I'm not
do
gonna do
it,
it.
but
No.
it
Yeah,
was
you
really
would. You would.
No.
It's fun. It's just fun,
Those stairs with those sandbags, like, girl, that looked gnarly. But it was amazing to watch you guys do it.
Did you ever get stuck on the stairs? So like Ben Smith got stuck at one point, didn't he? Or
Dragging them down.
Like they would like trying to drag too many or move too many at the same time. Like, did you ever get stuck or did you have like a plan that you knew like this is how I'm gonna get him up and down the stairs?
Yeah, I don't think that I got any stuck, at least that year, because we kind of did a repeat a couple years later.
Yep.
And I think that I just had a plan to throw one over my shoulder, a lighter one, and then drag the other one up, and it was pretty easy. The stairs, while it is, gnarly because there are stairs, the stairs are like a little bit shallower, so it wasn't as like much, leg fatigue as you could experience on some of the like normal size staircases.
Okay. Do I want to go into it or am I no?
I don't know where you were gonna go, but I was gonna go back. Can we go back?
Yeah, sure. Go
So on another podcast that you were on, I think it was almost a year ago, you talked
Jason
about
Grubb. It was Jason Grubb's
Yep.
podcast. Yeah.
So you talked about being competitive. Like, were you a competitive basketball player in high school? Was basketball your sport in high school? Did you do a lot of different things? Like, how did your athletic career or love for athletics, like, where did that start from?
It started from the beginning. I learned how to walk on a soccer field. My mom was really big into soccer and played soccer even when I was growing up. And so I was very fortunate to see a strong woman, just going after her passions. And they did it as something that was social. And her and my dad played on co-ed teams. And so I just got to see this healthy lifestyle. And then I started with soccer, but I'm extremely stubborn and I didn't want to share a sport with, unfortunately, at the time, I feel bad now saying it, but with my mom. Like I wanted to have my own thing and my own voice and something that she didn't know anything about and had to learn. And so then it wasn't until like 6th grade that I was kind of not recruited, but the school had a basketball team, and one of the basketball coaches was also a teacher there, and asked me if I wanted to play. And so then I kind of started there, and then just fell in love with basketball, and played all the way through college. I played in high school and then went to college for it. And I played 2 years at community college and then transferred over to a really tiny private school, Menlo College up in the Bay Area, and finished out my career there. And I'm so grateful for just that aspect of my life because making friends was much easier when you're on a team and you already have this built-in family. And it was actually, go ahead.
Did you do AAU? Like, did you
No.
plan on traveling? No, it was just
No.
high school and then like,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
We couldn't afford that. So
Yeah. Okay.
it was
Yep.
just, it was really expensive at that time. There was like one or two girls on our team that were able to do that. But yeah, that wasn't something that I could do. So yeah, just went that route through community college and stuff. And then I was lost once I graduated college, excuse me. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just moved to San Diego for fun, but then I was lost. And so when I found CrossFit, um, it was really it saved me. It really saved me in many
So you
ways.
had no idea. That was a question that I was actually going to ask you. You had no plan, or I was going to ask you, what was your plan uh, before you found CrossFit? There was no
I
plan, is what you're saying.
I mean, the plan was to work in the mortgage industry and just live. This wasn't the plan at all. And luckily the one of the girls, one of my best friends that we moved down to San Diego with, moved back home, and she was coaching and doing personal training at one of the gyms there, and they were doing CrossFit. And she was like, "Hey, come up. There's this charity event. Let's go. You can just kind of see what we do and see if you like it, and then go from there." And so it was Fight Gone Bad. I went up. I experienced Fight Gone Bad, but
As
I
your
fell
first
in love.
workout?
Oh yeah, it was horrible. I
Ooh.
couldn't walk for a week,
Yeah.
but it had nothing to do with the fitness and had everything to do with the community. It was so special what I witnessed, and I was like, how do I get that? Because
Mhm.
this is what I'm missing. And so when I came back home from that trip, I looked up a local CrossFit gym and started to kind of dabble on the weekends. It was kind of a trek to get there, and yeah, then just kind of grew into it.
That's
When
insane.
you say that you felt lost after college, was it just because you weren't playing sports anymore, or was it kind of both? Like you were graduating from college and you had your degree, but you kind of were like, do I like what am I going to do with this? Or was it more because you are such an athletic person that basketball stopped for you and it was kind of like you didn't really have anything athletically that was leading you towards like what we call that North Star, like that competitiveness that keeps you showing up every day? Or was it both, or was it more sports versus like your career?
That's a great question, and I think more specifically, it was the community and, like, the family that I was a part of. I was motivated because they were motivated, and we were
Mhm,
motivated together, and
mhm.
I still went to, like, the regular gym, but, like, put your headphones on, put your eyeballs down towards the ground, and just kind of, like, move, and it's kind of, meat markety, and it's like, that wasn't fulfilling at all, like,
Yeah.
and I also wasn't getting much out of it, like, I didn't know what intensity was at that point in the regular, fitness realm. So, yeah, I was missing that camaraderie, really.
Mhm. That push. That push that you
Mhm.
get from that community where you do show up more. We always say you show up more for your team than you do for yourself, and I think that we've heard a lot of CrossFitters that have done individual for a long time and then dabbled with team, and they're like, you just fight differently for your teammates. And so when you're back kind of having to do things solo, it's very difficult to have that same intensity, that same competitiveness and, whatever. And do you with that and being an individuals, and I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but being an individual athlete, like, do you still give credit to working out in a community to your success as an individual athlete? Because you guys are teammates training, but when you're
Mhm.
on the field, it's all you.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I starting out in CrossFit, is fun and you are getting this benefit from it. But then when we started to actually compete, the training days are long, and I would not have survived without all of my friends. I mean, at a certain point, there was 16 of us that would go back for a second session after class,
Mm, mm,
and yeah, you were competing against each other. But back then, there wasn't a lot of money on the line. It was different. So, like, if I was in a heat before Chris or Katie, like, we would literally come off the field and be like, okay, I did this. This didn't work. This worked for me. This is going to work for you. And, like, we would really give each other advice on, like, how to succeed because ultimately, and it's still this way, but ultimately, you can only do as much as you can do.
right.
Like in this sport, like if there's a little bit of strategy change, maybe you'll have an edge, but like you're only as athletic as you are.
Mhm.
So we never thought of it as this huge competition. Don't talk to each other. Don't share anything. We just wanted to see each other succeed. So that's what made it so unique and special.
That's I wanted to ask you that too. I'm curious because women we've talked to a lot of like young male athletes, we've talked to a lot of young female athletes, and uh we found that mostly men will have a good rapport and they'll like talk trash to each other and have a good time. And I was just kind of curious when you started coming up, was that the case? Were you guys able to kind of like talk a little trash, have fun? You guys always seem to like each other. Every YouTube video that's ever popped up, you guys are like, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? And so I think it's different now. I'm curious if you think it's different now.
Oh, it's absolutely different now. I mean, no, we didn't have the trash talking. We were there. We were just supporting. We were building each other up. Like, I mean, Chris Cover still comes here every single day and we train together. And it's the same. It's like, you can do this, and really trying to, motivate or encourage. And it makes it really special. But I think we've lost that a little bit in our sport now. And it's just because it's more competitive and there's more money on the line, right? You look at those older days and you watched everybody cheer each other on at the games, and you see less and less of that. You do see some people who have actual friendships with each other that will stay on or like cheer them on, but for the most part, everyone's sitting on the coolers and just kind of like shooting the breeze and just waiting for them to be able to exit the floor and get their carbs. We weren't worried about that. We didn't know anything about nutrition. And so
You weren't counting macros back then. You weren't weighing out your food back then, or
not the early days, that's for sure. We were still to have beers and pizza. Like, it was very different,
Old
you
school
know?
professional baseball. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's definitely changed and evolved, and I can see why, but also it makes me so sad because some of these athletes are truly missing out on why it was so special back then. Like, they're missing out. The isolation can be so detrimental to your mental health.
I
Um,
okay, good. I wanted to ask you about this
she's
too.
hitting all the points that we
Yeah,
wanted. I love it. That we want to talk about. I love it.
she's the queen of CrossFit that I always
She
knew she
knows.
was.
She
Aw.
knows.
I wanted to ask you too what you thought, and I guess you kind of just said it, but what you thought about young teenagers, but especially young teenage girls coming out and going to training camps away from their families, away from their parents. And I'm talking like 16, 17, 18, 19-year olds. And how what that must do to their like leave I can't imagine leaving my parents at or at least my grandparents at 16 or 17 to go and I wasn't a high level athlete, but I was a good athlete that got a scholarship that went and played basketball and I traveled a lot all the time.
Mhm.
But I didn't leave my house. Like I didn't move.
Right, and you always came back, like, you went
Yeah.
for a short period of
I
time,
was
you
gone for
had the
2 weeks.
freedom.
You're right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were always checking in, I'm not gonna say what these athletes are doing or the parents are doing, they're just trying to do the best for these
Of course.
athletes, but,
Of course.
like, I mean, I think that there's just gonna be more and more burnout. We're already seeing it with some of these younger athletes, and I think it's really sad because there's so much more to this whole thing than CrossFit. And these kids are so young that they don't need to spend hours upon hours. It can be, 3 or 4 hours to do this. And some people will argue with me that like I was never at the top of my sport, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But what I can say in my
I'd argue.
experience is that
I
I've been doing
I'd
this
argue.
I've been doing this for 18 years and
Yeah.
I have
Great.
had longer
Yeah.
stints of training, but for the most part I've always had a job. Like, I coach 3 to 5 classes a day still every day of the week, and, I have to find the balance, And I cannot, and that's just because I'm a business owner, but I cannot just say like, "Oh, you want a membership? Screw you. I'm going to go do my workout right now." It's like, "No, you are absolutely the most important thing to my livelihood. So I will take care of that. And if that means that I don't get to train for the rest of the day, then I don't." And I think that that balance teaches you a lot. Like, get as much as you can in, give yourself the grace and the freedom that if you don't get it in, it will be there tomorrow. Um, and so with some of these kids who are going to these camps, they're able to train for 4 and 5 hours. There's not these brain breaks. They don't get to be the kids where they're, going to the mall and shopping and doing all the stuff that you're supposed to do when you're young. You're supposed to do stupid things and make mistakes and eat, crappy food. And then take the benefits of not feeling bad the next day.
Yeah. So you feel that this idea of making it I guess a professional sport, or your own one and only thing for every single day, for you, what you're saying, that wouldn't have worked for you. The
No.
reason, the longevity that you've been able to have is because there were other things that were of importance that needed to be done, and you needed to navigate that. But you said that you saw your parents do that. They were able to balance the career and be parents and whatever. So you really had that oh my God, I can't think of the word.
The role models.
Thank you. I was like, like you had the role models, and you could see it in real time. And when do you think, just being a part of the sport as long as you have, when do you think that changed? Because we do hear a lot about like athletes not going to affiliates, and they're not in classes, and they're not coaching classes. Not saying you have to own an affiliate, but they're not in the everyday. And we all talk about, and because we hear from you guys, all of you OGs, that's the roots of CrossFit. That's the heart and longevity of CrossFit. When do you feel like that really changed with the elite sport part?
Yeah, that's a great question, and also a very good point about my parents. I have never thought about that, the balance that they had with their job, owning a business and being able to, like, balance it all, so that's really a cool perspective, so thanks for
Mm.
that.
Oh, you're
Um,
welcome.
I don't know when the shift happened. Like, that would be good to kinda take a look at because there's definitely a huge transition when people kinda left, and I don't know if it's because maybe when Matt came around, Matt was in a gym and then quickly, moved
Oh,
into his basement, and
good
so
point.
then
Mhm.
you're looking at that, and that's what a winner did, or, I
And
don't know.
Zellner was training alone. Fikowski was training alone. Like,
Yep.
So
yeah,
it's gotta be
that
that transition where Rich is exiting the individual because Rich has always had people around him. He's been in the affiliate, you know. Yeah, after I think that's right. Maybe after
Ben,
Ben
yeah,
Smith won.
Yep.
So yeah, that would be that kind of Matt Frazier era is when
yeah,
everything started to transition and kind of get away from the gym. And I can see the kind of why the athletes did it, or at least I can kind of see it because, it could be a big distraction. There might be not enough space in these, gyms at the time. Some of the gyms were very small and
Right.
so they couldn't fit, or it was just, not ideal times. So they had to make something work. Um, but I think that some of these other athletes who were not professionals, but aspired to be such, that they decided to kind of do that on their own. And we see it from time to time at our gym. Some people will kind of be in the corner, and we really try to encourage them to get back into
I can.
classes. I
Wait,
try to
hold on
do
before
class.
Tyler. I want
Oh,
to.
Yeah.
No, I want to let people be fangirls. Jody
oh,
Lynn.
go for it.
Sorry, I'm late. I watched Rebecca compete in Madison the first year that they were there. Lots of hearts for you.
Mhm.
uh,
Corey Leonard, saw you
Uh,
at Legends last year.
she's an
oh,
absolute unit.
oh, thanks. I'm gonna compete this year at Legends, or at least that's my goal.
I love that.
Tyler Watkins, CrossFit was never meant to be done alone, even at a competitive level, not all the time.
And I love that you're saying that, because I stepped away from CrossFit for a couple years. We both did. but I was a coach for a while. I was a coach for about 5 years, and I experienced a really bad back injury kind of at the end of my CrossFit experience, I guess you could say. And so I really needed to take a break from CrossFit, and I stepped away from it for a while. I had a lot of feelings about it, whatever. And so I've just started to get back into CrossFit, and I'm following
Sentinel training, by the way, Sentinel training.
Yeah,
Sentinel training.
I was getting there. I was getting there. So Taylor Self, owner of Sentinel Training or whatever, I'm starting to follow his program, and I'm loving it, but I'm doing it by myself. So I'm going to a CrossFit gym that we have here, and I'm doing it during their open gym hours. And I'm actually not a part of a class right now, but I'm starting to hear again kind of the lingo that we heard when we first started about the importance of being around other CrossFitters and that push. Do I push myself? Sure. As much as I could? Absolutely not. Because I'm like, this hurts. I don't want to go any faster because this hurts. Or I tell myself like I can't do it any faster because I'm just not capable right now. I'm not fit enough right now. And so hearing you say, even at your own gym, you had people come in and you still try to get them to like, just come take a class, just join the class, be a part of it, because there's nothing like it out there.
There is not, I've got the chills because you're absolutely right. There is nothing like it. These classes, the people in these classes are so special. Like, it's such a unique experience on a daily basis. Honestly, you walk into these doors and you might not know a single person. If you are at a good gym, people are coming up to you, introducing themselves, saying hello, trying to, start maybe a small conversation. And over time, you're not going to the gym for a workout. You're going to the gym because you want to go hang out with somebody, and just you have to work out because you're in the class that they're at. Like, it's only a byproduct of what it is. And when you get to that point, you're hooked. You're absolutely hooked.
Yep.
And sometimes you say, or you were saying like, you're not fast enough. Sometimes you feel like you're crushing it. And you're like, I am on top of the world. I'm going as fast as I can, but you're by yourself. And then all of a sudden, someone jumps in on a workout with you, and you're like, oh, holy shit, here is another level. Like, I didn't even know I could go there. And just because there's someone who's slightly in front of you or slightly behind you, you can just kind of dig in a little bit different. And it's just so cool to witness. Or like, even to the fact of getting a skill, like, oh, I'm never gonna do a pull up, and you're just kind of like, everyone's like, yeah, you probably won't if you think that.
Have you ever trained with your husband? Because Colleen and I used to race each other.
We do always like asking about couples.
Colleen and
better to train together or not good for your marriage if you train together?
No, we'll train with each other here and there, but oh my gosh, it's so competitive. And if there's a rower and I have to do the same amount of calories as he does, I lose my freaking mind because I'm inevitably going to possibly lose. And then it's like, yeah, we're very competitive. We don't really train in the same room together, but we will hit a workout here and there.
Oh no, Colleen and
we will not absolutely coach each other at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Colleen and I have destroyed each other because we're the complete opposite athlete. Like, I'm the strength, I'll machines, like give me a machine. I'm 6 feet tall, 185. Like, yeah.
You are tall.
I am tall.
Yeah.
So like, she's 5'11", and I don't know how much you weigh, but you're a much better cardio athlete than me. So like,
in comparison, as Becca was just saying,
to
us,
to the
world, I am not. I am absolutely
but like
not.
Like
gymnastics, like I could do. Like,
she
in
made
my
me
prime,
better at burpees. She made me better at toes to bar. She made me, and it would like kill me if she got a muscle up and I couldn't get one because I'm supposed to be the stronger. Like, why can't I? Like, I have I do more strict pull-ups than you. Why can't I?
Can't do a strict pull-up.
But
I could do.
Can you coach each other?
If we're not working out next to each other, like if she's doing a workout and I can help her, I will. But if we're working out, doing the same workout at the same time, no.
I will say it also depends on what the workout is. So during the open, we used to do a competition with each other, and the loser would pay rent. And so, I mean, we would do things. I made her eat.
I put her in a dumpster.
She did. And I had to recite a poem that she wrote. She wrote a poem. I had to go into the dumpster and read the poem while we were in the dumpster.
It was amazing.
But I did make her eat a onion, like an apple.
Raw onion,
like an
yeah.
apple. And then I had her like
drink raw eggs.
Drink 2 raw eggs or something like that. Like I was mean.
You guys are horrible.
I was mean. So during open season,
the love is real though. The love is real.
During open season, we would have that. So certain workouts, I know, Pat, I was a little mean. Certain workouts, like we could coach each other, but the workouts that we knew that we were like suffering through and we were getting pissed off because we were suffering were not as received. And I think it was the double unders. I forget which one.
Yep. A whole onion.
No, it was half. Don't lie. It was half. It was the double unders.
Felt like
dumbbell thrusters and the toes to bar.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Whatever that one was. And
I was suffering.
And she was so pissed off at me after because I was literally she
was fine. I was suffering. She was fine.
She went to singles. So we had her do a single toes to bar, turn around, and then jump up just to stay moving. I was right here. I'm like, do another one, do another one, do another one. She got done, fell on the floor, had her moment, looked at me and was like, you have to go away right now.
Anywhere else.
You have to go get our son and get out of my face. And she's never said that to me before. So we've had those workouts where it was like, no. But coach could. Like our coach at the time could be screaming at her, no problem. But me, no, not that time.
Yeah. Eric and I are both level 3 CrossFit coaches. And if we try to coach each other, we look at each other like, you don't know, and you're the dumbest person on the planet. Like you don't know what you're talking about. it's funny.
I love that. Did you guys get your level 3s together?
No, he got his first.
Competition.
Yeah. But I did mine in secret because I'm not really great at test taking, and so I was really nervous. And I think I told him like 3 days out, I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm getting my level 3 on this day. And he was like, have you been studying? I'm like, yeah, I've been studying so much.
Like crazy.
And but I didn't tell a single soul until like right before. So
damn, ouch, Bernie. Like I was committed. I was committed to burpees. Like I was committed to getting better. I really was. I burpeed everything that year.
And the double unders.
Yeah.
Like when we both were so over missing double unders. God. She got them first. And then I was like, oh no,
that
you
year.
can't do this by yourself. There's no way. There's no way.
Dude, I'd be so pissed if I lost at 100 double unders to her. Like so mad.
It's so funny how competitive we can be with our significant others, you know, but it's so true.
I would say working out either brings couples closer or it brings them apart, or they just learn a lot about each other. Like, we love you, but we can't work out with you. We can go work out with our friends. We just cannot, for our marriage to survive, we cannot work out together.
Let's just go to different class times.
That's right. And compare our scores later. We can compare.
Oh my God, this 45 minutes has gone so fast. And
oh my gosh, already.
I know. But I really, there's a couple of really big things that I kind of want to ask you. And one of them is about like social media. When you came into the sport, your first CrossFit Games was 2008. And like social media was in its infancy at that time. I think there was maybe Facebook, but Instagram wasn't really big yet, or wasn't really out yet. And so you didn't have that social media pressure. We've talked to a lot or enough young, when I say young, I mean like 23 to like 20 age female athletes about social media and the pressure of social media. And for them, it's like crazy. And I don't know that 2008 to 2012, how old you were at that time, but also, did you even know that social media was a thing, that you had to be kind of on social media all the time?
No, I mean, I was 27. So I was a little bit older when I started. And no, social media wasn't this big, huge presence, at least not in my world. And so I think that, like, for a lot, I've said this before, like, with sponsorships and stuff, I didn't feel like I needed to post things. I didn't want to post things because people are just mean. And so social media was something that has always been really hard for me. Um, I'm already comparing myself to some of these competitors that you see like 3 times a year. And so if I had social media back then or was tied to my phone with it, I don't know if I would have
Gotcha.
survived. It's
Because
so different.
you see these young athletes, and I'm talking about female athletes. Like we've talked to Dallin Pepper and a couple other male athletes, and the pressure is not so much on them, but you've seen kind of the female athletes. Like no one's talked about it, but Emma Carey was one of the ones that, like, when she bailed out and she found God and Jesus, and like, and she left, and and you saw Haley Adams take that year off. You saw Mal O'Brien, she's high rocks. You like there's a lot of female athletes, young female athletes that got into sport early. And with social media and the pressures of it, can you imagine, like, just think about having a 17-year-old daughter and her job is to be all over social media in the least amount of clothing possible.
Yeah, the scrutiny and the expectations are big. And, with Emma Carey, who's, from my knowledge, always been very religious, but then you have people who, I think from my perspective and what I have read from her, she wasn't worshiping in the right way, and that really,
Right.
like, bothered her. And so my that's my husband.
He's hot. Oh, wait, six pack. I see it back there. He's
He
hot.
just deadlifted 500 pounds today, and it was, like, his goal that he wanted to hit at 50, and he just did it. It was, like, so freaking cool.
Oh,
So
that's
sorry, shout out to him
amazing.
for that. That
Is
Yes.
was
he
really
okay with
cool to
you?
witness.
Is he okay with you being on a show with 2 lesbians? That's fine.
Abs
He's like,
Do you know my training partners?
yeah.
Her bestie.
We
Yeah.
have so much fun. Well, everybody, yeah. Everyone's welcome. Yes,
We're a
everybody's
good time. I know
welcome.
how to barbecue. Put me on a barbecue. I'm ready to go. Like,
Crack open the beer. We were talking about barbecue and beer, so there you
Yeah,
go.
there you go.
I got an igloo cooler and barbecue skills. Like, let's go.
That's awesome. I'm sure there's more you can offer to the table, but
Not really.
I find that hard to believe. No, but I think that, like, with, Emma was being able to, find a different path, not a path, but, like, she was a little bit more free with her fitness, and social media just came in and just said, like, "You're doing it wrong. You're not."
Yep.
My perspective of it was, "You're not worshiping correctly," and that really ate on her because she was, so close to God. And so, that had to have been really hard to read
Yeah.
these comments and have people around her, like, shaking their finger
Mhm.
and, not being able to find that balance. And, when she stepped away from our sport, kudos to her. She's way above kind of her age,
Yeah.
in her knowledge and wisdom. She was able to really articulate what she didn't need to explain why she was stepping away, but she articulated her why, and it seems like she's flourishing. And so, you
Yeah, it
know,
does. And I was happy for her when I saw it. I was sad because obviously I wanted to see her compete, and she was such an amazing, like, force to the space. Like her energy, her her worship of God, her, like, all that. Like she was an amazing energy. And it was sad when she left, but I completely understood why she did. It's just it's the same thing for me almost. Like I I love God and I love Jesus and I want to worship in a way, but because we are who we are, like I get the finger wagged in my face all the time and it sucks.
Mhm.
And
yeah,
so
it does suck.
yeah.
I
So
it
I
makes
got it.
that's the one thing that for me, I didn't grow up super religious. but like that's hard for me to understand. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why are they wagging fingers at you? Like, that's hard.
Yeah.
So and it makes me really sad. But going back to the social media aspect of
Yeah.
it with these females mostly, it's really hard to like how much why is she wearing so much clothes, or let's look at her butt and look at her abs, and that's a product of all the hard work that we've done. But it's really hard when you're comparing yourself to that, and maybe you're a larger athlete, and you don't have that six pack, and you're looking at this person who's posting 10% of their life on Instagram, and it's the best 10%. It's hard to kind of decipher through the bullshit of it all. Um, and it makes it hard. I mean, I look back at pictures, and I've always had a tough relationship with my body and how I look. And I look back at pictures and I will remember, like, oh, that year, I remember I was so ashamed to take my shirt off. And now I look at it and I'm like, holy shit,
You
I
were
was
looked
jacked. Like,
amazing. Yeah.
it's crazy. I'm still I'm still struggling with that, and like trying to find a good positive love for all of the aspects of my body, but social media makes it very hard because there's a lot of perfection, and now we're battling AI.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
AI is now showing you this perfect person, and it's seemingly a real person, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, this isn't even real. Like now we have this added layer of complexity to body image and what's perfect,
But even somebody else using AI to use your image and likeness to make a post. You know what I
which
mean?
is wild. Yeah.
It's insane.
And for a teenager to be able to handle that, like
Well,
imagine
how do they have the bandwidth to even know like what is right and what's wrong, or
What's
if
real?
this is
Yeah.
real? Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, a couple years ago, taking someone's identity used to be illegal, and now AI can just take a picture, from something that you posted, even if it's not even your full face. They take that little bit, and all of a sudden, you have a whole face, a body, and whatever, and they just post it, and they can make you say things that sound like you. And I mean, it can completely
It's
ruin people's
crazy.
lives and careers and legacies and all type of stuff. And a couple years ago, if you ever did that, like that's a crime. You would go to jail. And so that's why in the beginning, when I was saying like how grateful we are to see strong women like you, it's still very difficult to know like what is the perfect body, because we're always fighting for something, but we're never able to have that conversation of my body, doesn't matter how hard I work, will never look like yours. And it will
Right.
never look like yours because my build is different, my genes are different, my gut health is different, my hormones are everything is different. And so when you have this image of the perfect body, and now it's the tiny, tiny waist, the really big hips, and the really big butt, and the big boobs. And most women go by that. And it's no shade, like if that's how you want to live your life, but like
Most of
those
us don't look like that.
most of us,
Like
99% of us don't look like that. And so when you
Right.
see that, that is the image. And like you said, the six packs and this tiny, midsections, and we're all fighting for that. And it's like we lose sight of like what our body can do because there is so much pressure of what it looks like.
Yeah, and I think that brings it all back to being in classes with people who look all different shapes and sizes and colors and everything, and being able to have a class with those individuals and being like, "Oh, her body's banging, but she doesn't have a pull up." And then you go like, "Oh, I have more muscles than that girl. I really want that body, but I can do things that they can't," or
yeah.
Right.
whatever. And it's
Mhm.
empowering. It gives you perspective. And if you're only training alone and you're only on Instagram or whatever, TikTok, then you're only seeing the stuff. It's just, it biases your kind of vision of what else is out there, and it makes it really hard. I mean, I challenge people after a workout to keep their phones out of their hands and just hang out and just look around the room and stretch, especially if there's time in class left over to just kind of mentally decompress and not just go back into your phone and kind of get back into that tunnel vision, because that's where, the death of humans are going to be, is right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good point, because when I work out by myself, what do I do while I'm resting? I'm not talking to the people that
Scrolling.
are
Yeah.
lifting next to me doing their own workout. I go stick myself in the corner and go do my workout, and then I'm scrolling in between my sets, or if I get a break, then I'm looking at my phone, that kind of stuff. But I love the fact that you said going to class and looking around and seeing what people look like and their abilities is empowering. Do you still believe that it is empowering? Or do you
Yes.
feel like that we've lost it in the comparison that social media has created?
No, in our walls, in this gym behind me, I get to see it every single day.
Mm,
I It's the most beautiful thing, and it's why I wanna be in the classes. I wanna coach still, because just witnessing that is so different than what we witness outside, in, like, a regular grocery store. People
mhm,
are so kinda locked into what they're doing, and here, it's beautiful to see just a relationship bud, whether it's a friendship or r romance, whatever, but it's so cool to see. I have a class that are these 60-year-old women, and
love it.
when we first started, I'm gonna tell you, they hated each other. Maybe not said it, but they were very quiet. They did their own thing, and now we're probably, like, a year and a half in, and it's the most beautiful thing. Sometimes I can't get them to stop talking, but
Like,
also
shut up.
they share experiences, they share their life stories or what they're experiencing, and then they can share advice to one another, and it's
Mhm,
one of my favorite classes. There's 4 of them, just 4 of them. But it's so fun to witness that and experience that and hear things that I'm gonna go through eventually as,
mhm.
life takes over. Like, it's it's beautiful, and I love seeing people interacting with one another, and I'm so grateful that I have a small impact on their lives, every single day. It's so cool.
I love that.
I'm hearing you say, like, listening to women that eventually you're going to go through what they're going to go through, and you get to hear that their stories. Or I just kind of got that. Colleen, not so much. Colleen's younger than
Always a
me.
baby.
Colleen's a baby. But we just had Shelby Neal. I don't know if you know Shelby. We just had her on the show and we got to talk a lot. She's been dealing with her period and how that affects her training. She said that, or she put up that post and we talked about it at length where like her period stopped her in her tracks. And we definitely said like, or I definitely said like, hey, I've never had that ever in my entire athletic career where my period stopped me like legit in my tracks. But now that I'm in my 40s, my period's acting up. Like it's a stepchild that's upset with me and doesn't like me anymore and just wants to
She a
punish me.
bitch, let's just say that.
She mad.
She a motherfucker these
She mad.
days.
She mad at me right now. But as soon as I pretty much hit 42, she just been mad. So I wonder if you've ever had any of those experiences or like if it's changed for you. Cause the one thing that like young, like 20-year-olds, I want to say like it changes. Like every decade it changes and gets
Yeah.
weirder and weirder. Like
It's so interesting because in your 20s, you hear the stories of the 30s and the 40-year-olds talk, and you're like, "That's not gonna be me. I'm healthy, I'm working out, like, whatever." And then now it's like, when I got to my later 30s, I'm like, "Tell me everything," because there's no book. The
yeah,
books
Mhm.
are
no.
now starting to come out, but really, we're all different, just like you said, Colleen, like, we're all different. We're all gonna have these weird experiences, these different experiences. So like as much as information I can get, I'm gonna take in. And I'm grateful for social media for that aspect because we are talking more about women and women going through things in the later aspects of their life. Um, but it's good to be able to talk to people about it. I had just had a meeting. The Medical Society for CrossFit offers blood work. And so I just recently did some blood work with them. And I was speaking with Dr. McCoy, and he was like going through my blood work. And I mentioned this maybe on Hiller for a split second. And I was like, oh, yeah, he was telling me that, by looking at my blood work, my nutrition was off. And then I remembered the actual conversation, and it wasn't that. He was talking to me about life, and he said, okay, what are you experiencing? And I said to him, I know I'm getting into my 40s. There's things in my, that are hormonally happening. But there's are times where I'm driving to the grocery store. My life is good. Everything's going well. And I just want to cry because I'm so sad about something. There's a heaviness into me. And I'm like, I don't know if that's just, premenopause or whatever. And he just kind of like dug in. Okay, talk about your nutrition. Talk about this. And he asked me a bunch of questions. And we concluded that I'm not eating enough. Like, I started to get a little bit more belly fat, and I was like, okay, I'm going to pull the carbs. And that was the wrong thing to do. And I started to really kind of measure and weigh, which is what works for me, and make sure that I'm getting the proper protein, which is what I've always done. But then I've increased my carbohydrates, and it's been incredible. My brain feels better. I don't feel as heavy. My muscles have already started to like come back. And it was just this one conversation with somebody who knew what was going on, willing to have a conversation that's not, oh, you're just being weird, or you're just going to have to deal with it. That's where you live now, in hormonal weird adjustment phase. He was just asking a bunch of questions, and maybe for some people they're experiencing menopause, but for me, I'm able to kind of look at my nutrition as a whole and make adjustments and feel better. And it's gonna get weird, and I'm glad that I have a resource that I can talk to people, and I can share this with, not just a doctor, but also individuals that are going through these same experiences, and it's not this like negative aspect.
How are you able to?
Yeah, wait, hold
Oh,
on
go
one
ahead.
second. I was just gonna say, I was like, this is for all high level athletes. For me, I'm just going through premenopause, so there's no. This is for
She
women.
doesn't actually know that.
I was gonna say that, but I say that to everybody, and everyone rolls their eyes. I'm like, you don't know that. It's very hard to determine that. Also, take a look at some things. It might be needing to adjust.
You're getting
Also,
sound advice from Rebecca Voigt.
I know. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Listen.
I
also, social media can make it really heavy. If you're like, oh, my ears are ringing and they're itchy, that's premenopause, and all of a sudden you're just like, ah.
I'm
Like,
all the way there. I've already started getting AARP emails. Like, I'm ready.
Same. I'm still throwing that shit away. I'm sorry.
So is she.
So am
So
I.
is she. Don't let her fool you. So is she. How are you able to kind of navigate that narrative? Because Greg's philosophy obviously is like drop the carbs, keep the carbs low and whatever. But for women, you're starting to hear this new conversation of like women need more carbs because it just supports our bodies and our hormones different. How are you able to navigate that for yourself? Obviously, now that you have that information for yourself, but also, do you talk nutrition with your clients? Do you kind of dive into that with them too? And how are you able to kind of navigate for each person what they need?
It's interesting. I do have conversations with the clients here and there. I try not to be something that's at the forefront. If they want to talk about it, absolutely. But I'm not going to put in all the effort. So if someone asks me, I ask them to write down what they eat in a day so I can actually have a full picture. And I like to see 3 days, and then they can bring it back to me, and then we can sit down and have a conversation. And I'll do that for anybody. But usually 3 days is too much, and then I don't get it, and I don't have to worry about it because it's not important to them. It's not important to me.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't know. It was like I have been told that I needed to eat more carbs at different stages in my life, and I was scared. I grew up with that. That's kind of not how you do it. And I think just this time I was ready to hear it. And so I was ready to hear it, and I was ready to give it a try. And so I have increased, not exactly where we want to go, but it's getting into that kind of area. And I have seen positive changes. And so obviously that motivates you to keep going.
Yeah,
All right,
But
sure.
if
fine. I'll
I
eat more
hadn't
carbs.
tried it, yeah, it's incredible because you don't realize like how much you do in a day. Like I was explaining what I did in a day, and Dr. McCoy was just like, dude, you're starving yourself. Like you need energy. The carbohydrates is what you're going to use. And that's, some people feel like that's different energy sources or whatnot. But, for me, I was like, okay, well, nothing else is working. I keep
Yeah.
pulling these carbs down and it's just getting worse. So like, obviously I don't know what I'm talking about. So let me try it that way.
Yep.
And at least I can gather more data, and then I can speak more intelligently to, other people who are experiencing similar things. And I can say, this works for me. I'm not going to tell people that I'm an expert. So if they really want nutrition, I will point them to people who will dedicate 100% of their time to the needs of this person, but I will give them advice.
I just think
And
there's
then
a
go
lot
from
of
there.
I just think there's a lot of these young girls right now that have come into the sport very early, right? And they don't know their period yet. Like it takes a long time to kind of, hey, these are my symptoms. Like now I can tell when I'm like, yo, I'm 3 days out. Yo, I'm a day out. Hey, babe, it's coming in like 12 hours. Like I know this because I've had it. But you have these girls that are super, super young and they don't know yet. And also they are very high level athletes with like very little body fat, and they don't know their symptoms yet. They don't know how their body kind of responds to it. And so hearing from somebody like you, and you had the time. You were what? You were 27 when your first CrossFit Games? Like
Yeah.
You
that's
have
a
another guest
I
behind you.
know. It's everyone's looking in the mirror. You can't see through. So she's
oh, that's fire.
That's awesome.
Was that why your husband did that?
yeah, I mean, no, he was speaking in because he knew I was on
Oh,
this,
yeah.
but he was speaking in. He went to the other side. There's another door, so he went to the other side once he realized that the camera was right here.
That's so
Uh,
awesome. They don't even know that they're
I know.
But
I love it. I love it so much.
I just think
Um,
I think it's really cool for some of the younger girls that have started CrossFit so young and are now like entering the individual field at the age of 20, 21, whatever, and to hear that this is like it's something you're gonna have to manage your entire life. It's not like
yeah. Sorry.
how
Go
do
ahead.
like it's not like, hey, how do I just manage it through CrossFit, like, or sports? You're gonna have to manage it your entire life, even after it's over. like,
You need to be able to be in tune with it,
yeah,
right? I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, my whole like adolescence, it was that's something that's happening. Suck it up, be discreet, don't say anything, don't complain about how you're feeling,
Gen
and just
X,
be out
baby,
there.
Gen
And I'm
X.
and I'm grateful for that experience. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that wasn't trauma for me. That's
yeah,
just how it was.
yeah,
And now I can do that, but yeah, we have more resources. Shoot, you can literally use the Whoop to kind of see where everything's kind of falling on your cycle. But we're also learning that, in different stages of that cycle, we can strengthen more, we can push harder. Now, that's going to be detrimental to some people because they're going to be like, "Oh, I can't push hard today. I can't compete today because, I'm in this stage," and that's not going to work. But the more information that is going to be better. So yeah, these athletes who are overtraining and there is no period, that's a big deal.
yeah.
We need to understand that that's something that needs to happen so that we're healthy, and I think having these conversations openly is great because that athlete may not know that it's not normal, you know?
Mhm.
And we see it, we've always heard about it with gymnastics.
Yes.
Gymnastics, it's not until they
Dance.
stop and all of a
Modeling,
sudden you're like,
like, yeah,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
But,
Modeling, dance, all that. Yeah. And I always love to ask, or we like to ask, OGs that have been in the space for a long time and have competed for a long time and know what it takes to compete. and be successful in CrossFit. Do you feel like so they have the teenage division? My first question would be, do you feel like it's a good thing to have a teenage division on such a high level? I guess we'll start there.
I think a teenage division is great. It's awesome because you have this community. On a professional level, I don't love it personally.
Yeah.
I got so much out of team sports and being able to kind of like be on different sports teams and learning the aspects of discipline from a coach or feeling the ability to manage some unsavory coaches and
Mm.
their kind of coaching style. You learn a lot from that. And so I think it's very important to have different like outlets for sports at that age. And
Mhm.
CrossFit can kind of complement that. But I do think that solely putting everything into just CrossFit as your sole piece of athletics can be bad. Now, if there's no athletics except CrossFit because they don't want to do anything, that's a different story.
Right.
But they still should be doing CrossFit with athletes that are their same age, or being around adults all the time isn't the best
Yeah.
thing,
Right.
because when you're 14, 15, we have 2 14, 15-year-olds, and they're wonderful kids. They are absolutely wonderful kids, but when they are in class, they act like the adults, and I'm so grateful that their parents have them in other sports where they can act their age, they can goof off, and they can kind of, have the freedom of being their age,
Mhm.
elsewhere, because if it was just CrossFit, that's not super fun.
'Cause it's so, like, you gotta
Regimented. You have
yes.
expectations. You're around a bunch of adults. If you're acting all goofy, people are looking at you like, why can't they just act mature,
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're
or
not there.
they
Because
feel
they're
out of
there.
place.
Yeah, because the adults are there to get their workout in and get what they need to get done. So
But
then
also,
oh, sorry.
no, also I was gonna say to that point is when you're in sports, when you're a kid and you're in sports, you're kind of not supposed to be in sports with a bunch of adults. Like you're supposed to be in sports with kids so you can be goofy, so you can do like I'm not saying that going to work out and train with adults in CrossFit is a bad thing. Like you learn discipline, you learn how to conduct yourself, carry yourself, you learn how to speak to adults. You don't speak to adults the same way that you speak to your friends, right? Like that
Yeah.
was always my grandmother was always like, I don't give a shit what you say to your friends, but you're not going to use that language with me. And right. So it can be good either way, but like, yeah, you have to kind of grow up in sports with your own age group. That
Right, and that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
We have a 19-year-old, and our 19-year-old, ever since he was 3, he's been in a CrossFit gym. In the early stages, he just kinda run around and play around with some of the other kids. But yeah, you're right, he did learn how to, you know he learned it elsewhere too, but, like, he had conversations with adults where he'd have to look in their eyes. If they were meeting somebody, they were shaking their hands and looking in them in the eyes. When they were speaking clear he was speaking clearly.
yeah,
So there are
Mhm.
skills that we see now as 19. He is such a social kid, and
yeah,
he can conduct himself in a manner that we are so proud of him, but that wasn't his only socialization. He
right.
was able to socialize in all the different sports and be his own age and, like you said, goof off.
Oh,
They are
yeah,
supposed to figure out this stuff and have lingo and say dirty words with each other and not get in trouble. Like that's
yeah,
part of the process of growing up. And you're missing out if you're not able to have that, or at least I think.
yeah, I agree.
If you're so,
Yeah,
like,
hold
just
on.
structured from
Regimented.
the yeah, and so we also talk about how there's no group between the teens and the elite. Like, if you're a teen and you qualify at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, if you any one of those ages, if you qualify for the elite CrossFit Games, you can go to the CrossFit Games. Do you feel that there's a miss between the teens and the elites that are possibly part of the reason why it's so difficult for the girls to transition
Specifically.
between the teens and then getting into, because like Alexis Raptis, for instance, she just did a road to the games and she talked about how she made it to the teens, she did the teens, and then she tried for 4 or 5 years to get to the games. And that was like almost her transition period for her, because she kept training, but she didn't make it as fast as like a Haley Adams made it or a Mal O'Brien made it when it was so quick. Do you feel like there's something missing for our young girls to be able to transition between that teen and that elite?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard, right? Because, what do you have different divisions, and that could be a good solution. I think that more so it's developmentally, guys take a little bit longer, right? And so these girls make the transition a little bit faster because they grow up a little bit faster, or they can adjust a little bit faster. And so I think that I don't know. I don't really know what I'm trying to say. So
It's funny because the
it's
men,
like,
the boys, like, so like take the Dallin Pepper, the James Sprague, the, the Jason Hopper, this young new group of boys that have like, they've gone from teens to the individuals so easily.
yeah, they've
From
had
what
their 5 years.
they've had that 5 years to get there. Now they're 22, 23, and they're like,
Well, because they're not strong enough, because they weren't like
Yeah.
going from teens for men, for the boys, the weights for the teens, there's an extensive jump for the elite men. Like you think like Dallin Pepper as a teen and Matt Frazier as in his prime.
Yeah,
there's no way that Dallin could meet that weight and be on the same level. But for the women, that distance is not as big. So some of these girls can lift as heavy as the elite athletes can lift. And so for them, there's that missed transition between. For some of them, not for all of them, but for some of them.
I think the boys are like, somebody said this, and forgive me for not knowing who said this in one of our chats or conversations, but I think it was Tyler Watkins. The boys don't really care about what people think about them physically in the CrossFit space or at all.
It was Tyler.
And it was Tyler, and the girls do. And so this is why I think Bernie's comment is so relevant. The teen girls get a lot of attention in CrossFit. Much of it is not for the purest of reasons. And yeah, I don't know if there needs to be like a bridge age so much as it needs to be like, I hope that they have a group of people looking out for them to help them with their mental stability going through Instagram and going through the CrossFit space. I don't know if you would agree with that more so than.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I wish there were more people trying to help them navigate this a little bit better and have that mentorship. Because it is tougher, and we also see more burnout, or at least we're hearing more burnout from the female side.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's so quick, we are seeing it so fast. They transition from 16 to 17 into this division, and then there's all this pressure of having to perform and being a certain way. And yeah, maybe it is that the weights are, the boys have an adjustment period to get to the elite's weights. And, some of these girls are strong as shit and much stronger than, I will ever be. And so that transition makes it a little bit easier. I don't know what the right way is. I mean, you can't, are you going to regulate it so that you
Yeah,
can,
you can't.
You can't.
You really can't.
I don't know. They do in women's basketball for college. You can't go pro until you're 23 or 22. So it's like,
Oh, so do you have to be in your senior year to go pro?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not
I'm not sure on
100%
that.
sure, but there is an age range that's much older than for the men in college.
Yeah, I think you could be
So
a sophomore. I think you only have to do 2 years.
yeah, but I
And
think you have to be graduated or in your senior year to be able to be
to go for
able and
women.
eligible. Yeah. So there are regulations to
okay.
it, but I don't know. I think because our sport's so young,
Yeah.
we're still all
Of course.
trying to figure it out.
Hold on, let me get this fan question. Tyler Watkins. How did Becca stay a fan after all these years when some of her contemporaries aren't? Does she have hope for the future of CrossFit? sorry for the double, dude. You can always double us.
You
It's
can
fine.
always.
What does that even mean?
Okay. Double
Like a
us?
double question?
Like a double
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he
I've
could
always
have meant it in a different way. Either way, I don't care. It's possible.
It is
It's
Tyler,
fine. It's Tyler. It's fine.
I mean, I have always been a big fan, I think, because in the beginning, I was friends with so many of the athletes. We were all friends, and so it was fun to be able to kind of a glimpse into what they're doing and their successes. Um, but also I don't rely on CrossFit to run my business at all. Like, I am my own entity. If CrossFit goes away, then we're going to be fine, right? My business is going to be fine because I am very sure of who I am and what I believe in. And so I feel like, we put a lot of expectations on CrossFit and then they don't get met and it's very quickly, something that you can kind of throw away. And I really don't have, I mean, I want CrossFit to do good. I want people to do the right thing, but also we're human. CrossFit is run by humans and humans make mistakes. And
All the
so we
time.
have to filter through, what we're okay with. And, you know, it's a lot of conversations within the walls of my gym when something happens in CrossFit. I'm not just like, "Oh, you know, it's CrossFit, they're fine, they're up on a pedestal," because 'cause they're not. I'm scrutinize a lot of what they do, and I complain about a lot of things, but we're human, we make mistakes, and we should all have an opportunity to have a few extra chances before we get written off, and so that's kinda how I live my life.
Last question that I'm super scared of, and then we'll
Oh, great.
Then I have one question left
okay,
after
and then we'll get out of here. But is it disheartening at all to kind of see politics play a role in CrossFit right now? Like we can kind of see how there's, you can kind of see the sides forming or whatever, and it might be a very small. It might not be the majority. It might be just a very loud majority of it, the politics forming in CrossFit. But it's sad for me to see because that was the place where you went where there wasn't politics
It didn't matter.
and you
It didn't
didn't
matter
care.
who you were, where you came from.
So I'm just curious if you noticed it at all or have any feelings about it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also it's very sad and disheartening. We're just in a time that, our administration is one way, and so unfortunately, there's not that example that I like to kind of learn from. It's not positive to me.
Fair.
Um, we at our gym really try to leave politics out of it. It's not something that we really endorse conversations we in a class setting because we do truly believe that everyone belongs here and everyone is important at the gym. And this is the place where you go to, love on each other and have some fun and do fitness and talk about food and maybe movies, but we try to keep it, you
Family,
know
like, yeah,
we
your
just
kids
try to
come
keep
with
it so
you.
that
Yeah.
like, you
Yeah.
can watch the news, you can go out and talk whatever you want outside, but, like, everyone belongs, and we can all coexist even if our beliefs don't line up 100% together, and so I wish the rest of the world could follow that
Yeah.
because we all can have different opinions and we all can matter because we do all matter. We are all humans and we are all important. And I wish more people could take a second to remember that we're human.
And we're just trying to live,
We're doing
bro.
the best we can.
Yeah, we're just
Yep.
trying to live, bro.
Listen.
I hear you.
Becca Voigt Miller for president.
Yeah.
That's who I'm.
2028. We're good.
Nope, I'm staying right here.
She's like, I'm not. I'm not. Well, before I ask this last question, I just want to say thank you so much. This has been absolutely
I can't
amazing.
even- yeah.
to chat
Oh,
with
I
you.
can hang out for hours.
My
no
bucket list.
shade to anybody else, but this is the best podcast I've ever been on. Like the conversations were great and genuine and authentic. So I really appreciate hanging out with you.
We'll call you for a cup of coffee sometime soon.
Yeah, I love coffee.
But before we go, I'm just curious, what's one thing that you love about competitive CrossFit now as it's grown? And what is one thing that you wish the newer generation could have experienced from the OG time?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I will always say the camaraderie of the athletes back in the day, where you were all suffering together, you clung together because you didn't know what the games were going to provide that year or whatever. And so we all kind of clung together, and we all were friends, and we all wanted to see each other succeed. And I wish that came back. I wish more people would cheer each other on or help them, or, help each other on the field when you were done with your workout. You can still be competitive on the floor. You can kick someone's ass. And then when you're done, you can go ahead and cheer them on as they finish, and generally want them to do well, And so I would like to see that come back, because if you watch some of the earlier days, watch the CrossFit Games, you will see that. You'll see that on both sides, male, female divisions, and it's beautiful. And you will still see that on the master sides, and especially as you get into the older divisions, the 70-year-olds. I don't even know if they know that they're working out, because they're having so much fun with each other.
Yeah,
it's so special, and it's like it's unique. And so that's what I want these individuals just to remember, that you can still succeed and want somebody alongside to succeed as well.
Clock.
What do I
Clock, you douche. Where's Clock? You douche. And then Tia appeared.
Well, she cheers people on afterwards.
Yeah.
She just cheers everybody else on because no one else is done.
She's part of that.
I do hope, and I like Tia a lot. Tia's an amazing human being, but I do hope she gets a run for her money if she is competing, because I think she'll have more fun.
Yeah. You want to see a race?
We always said that. We always said that when her and Matt started to really dominate, I was like, I want someone to chase them. I don't care if they win, but I want someone to chase them. When they would win by so many points that they could just sit out the last two.
Yeah. It's like, whatever.
So annoying.
Let me pull up this picture real quick before we get out of here. Last thing. Because this to me is just so freaking cool. It's the legends at Rogue. And I mean, it's just Margot Alvarez, Kristen Clever, Annie Sakamoto, Annie Thorisdottir,
Sammy Briggs,
you,
Kristen Holta.
Yeah, Kristen Holta. I'm sorry, I don't know who.
Tanya Wagner.
Tanya Wagner.
I can't see it. It's like the I'm 44. My eyes. I need carrots.
Geez.
I gotta eat carrots. My fault.
No.
Go get your ass checked, girl.
Yeah, right. You're not wrong.
She might listen to you, Becca. She might listen to you.
I'll go eat my carbs. But like, this is like the greatest photo of all time. I mean, there's a couple other women that you could probably put in there, but it's the coolest thing ever.
Women.
This is the best weekend of the year, when I get to go and hang out with all of these individuals. It's unreal. Like, you could you get together with these individuals, and it's like you've never skipped a beat. Like, there was never a time that you were apart, and the conversation is just so fun, and it's lighthearted. I mean, if you've ever been around Annie Sakamoto, it's the best thing ever. She's just so
but she popped up in my stories today, and I almost had a heart attack. So
oh my gosh, you should interview her. She's phenomenal.
Oh my God, we would love to. We would love to.
The God, your era is just, I mean, I'll always go back and say like, yo, the 90s are the best. Like growing up in the 90s were fire. Like you drank out of a hose and you tried to survive. And if you survived, it was great. And then like
Yeah.
your parents didn't know where you were for like 10 hours out of
Most of the day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it was awesome.
Yep.
There was no cell phones. There was no,
No.
and watching you guys and finding you guys, I found it for the first time, I think on ESPN. I saw like the rope climb, Rich's rope climb, that event with
Mhm.
all you guys. I saw all of it, but like that was the first one I ever found, and it's changed my life, and it's been so cool. And you guys are literally like history makers.
Mhm.
It's so fire.
It's
So
really cool. This sport has, changed my life and my path, like, more than I had ever expected, and I'm so grateful for all the individuals, everybody, spectators, fans, people that I've worked with, competitors. Yeah, it's, like, so special, this experience that I've been able to be a part of, and I really appreciate both of your time.
Rebecca Voigt
We
Miller,
respect your time so much, and we will
Mount
bother you
Rushmore,
again.
and
I don't know,
yeah.
Come
you
hang
shouldn't
out
say
with
Mount Rushmore. I'm sure John Young is losing his mind
I'm
every
sure he
time
is.
you say that, but that gives me quite a lot of joy.
No, don't let him mess with you, because with Bill Grunler, Chase, like there's a bunch of us that have had this kind of conversation of what the Mount Rushmore, what it entails. And believe me, John Young
Is not right.
is not right.
I agree
John
with you
Young.
100%.
John Young is not right. Thanks so much, guys, for hanging out. Don't forget,
We appreciate all of you.
don't forget, Vindicate just celebrated his 2 years. So
Yeah,
go get some Vindicate.
our boy.
I think there's 20% off going on right now. So thank you to Travis for always supporting us. Thank you to you guys for always supporting us. And Rebecca Voigt Miller, we cannot thank you
Best day
enough.
ever. Thank you.
Becca, hang tight. I'm gonna end this live, and we'll say goodbye properly. Goodbye, guys.
Deuces.
See ya.
Bye.